cover. Whether your bumper cover comes already primered, like is the case on the face of this one, or whether your bumper cover comes as raw plastic with no primer or sealer on it, as is the case on the inside of this bumper cover. Then we're going to go over all the necessary steps for each scenario, and these are going to be especially important if you're going to be painting a bumper cover that's in the raw plastic form. And that's because the type of plastic these bumper covers are made of has a very slippery surface, which makes getting paint and primer to stick to them very difficult. Also, in its raw form, this plastic gives off this residue, which just adds to the problem. Again, they make these bumper covers from different types of plastic, but if you want to find out exactly which type, it's usually stamped on them. And the acronyms for the type of plastic are usually TPO or TEO, or in this case, PP. Alright, so first we'll go through the steps required for painting a raw plastic bumper cover. Then once we get to the primer stage for this raw plastic bumper cover, then the steps would be the same for the front of this bumper cover, which is already primed. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is to clean the heck out of this raw plastic bumper cover. Now, while you're cleaning this, it's very important that you do not use any grease and wax remover on a raw plastic bumper cover. Because when you use these solvent-based grease and wax removers on raw plastic, the raw plastic actually absorbs some of this, and then that might have a reaction with whatever you decide to spray on the plastic bumper cover next, and then you're going to have to start all over again. So instead of that solvent-based grease and wax remover, you want to get your hands on some water-based grease and wax remover and use that. But if you don't want to go out and buy one of those, you can just use some regular car wash soap and a clean sponge with some water, and take your time and thoroughly clean the bumper cover. And of course, you want to make sure you do a thorough job. Pay attention to all the corners, all around the edges. Make sure you clean all of it and get this sponge into every nook and cranny. And next, you want to wash everything down. Obviously, if you use a hose, it would make life a lot easier. I don't have one in the shop right now, so I'm just going to use a new clean sponge and a clean bucket of water. So next, you want to make sure everything is completely dry before you go to the next step. So just either wipe it down with some shop towels, or use some compressed air and dry everything off. Alright, next we need to scuff down this raw bumper cover with what's called a gray Scotch-Brite pad. Now this is a Scotch-Brite pad made specifically for automotive paint work. Don't think you can go grab a Scotch-Brite pad that's made for dishwashing that happens to be gray and use it for this. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in any of the products I use in my videos, I'll put links to where you can buy them for cheap in the description box, so don't be afraid to click on them and check them out. And in the world of automotive Scotch-Brite pads, this is considered a fine grit Scotch-Brite pad. If I had to compare it to sandpaper, it would probably equal an 800 or maybe 1000 grit sandpaper. Alright, so here's a close-up shot of the area I'm gonna first scuff down with our Scotch-Brite pad. And of course you can fold your Scotch-Brite pad if you want to. And you want to do this dry, you don't want to do this wet. And you want to use this nice and firm all over this plastic bumper cover. Alright, and here's a close-up shot of the area we just scuffed down with our Scotch-Brite pad. And hopefully you guys can see the difference. Now, even though we scuffed down this area, if you look closely, you can see that right here in this edge, the area is still shiny. And that's the sort of thing you want to avoid, because that means we weren't able to scuff up that area with our Scotch-Brite pad. Even though we went over it, we missed it due to the body line here. So again, you want to get in there. If you have to fold it again, do whatever you need to get in there and scuff up all those areas. Because if you don't, that's where your paint is going to start to peel from. Same thing goes for these edges. If you don't do this right, again, this is a prime area where your paint is going to start peeling from. Also, I should mention that I'm not actually going to spray the inside of this bumper cover in this video. I'm doing these just as a visual guide for people watching this video. But I will be spraying the front of it in this video, so you guys will get to see that. Alright, so after we scuff down everything with our gray Scotch-Brite pad, once again we're going to wash our bumper cover with some soapy water. Then again rinse it off with some plain water. Then once again completely dry it off. It's very important before the next step that this is completely dry. Next up, we're going to use a tack cloth and tack down our entire panel. So you just fold it up like this, and then just gently go over your entire panel. And then hopefully by doing this, you'll remove all the dust and lint particles that are still on top of your panel. And next up, we're going to spray some adhesion promoter on our bumper cover. And specifically, the type that works on plastic. Because that means the flex agent is mixed with your adhesion promoter. And you need a flex agent because, well, that's self-explanatory, I guess. Alright, so next we'll shake our can. And then from approximately 12 inches away, we're going to apply a light mist coat. Next, you're going to wait 5 minutes, and then if you want to, you can apply a second light coat. If you feel like you need to apply a third coat, what you want to do is to actually wait 10 minutes before the third coat. Now, those directions and flash times are for when you're using a spray can like I got here, but to be honest, this is best used for small repairs. But for larger repairs, you want to use a high volume, low pressure spray gun. And if you're going to be using one of these to spray the type of adhesion promoter I just showed you, what you want to do is to apply one medium wet coat, and then if you want to apply a second coat, you want to wait 5 minutes, and then apply a very light second coat. And then 20 minutes after you applied your last coat of adhesion promoter, you can go on to the next step, but you don't want to wait more than 24 hours. If you do, you need to scuff this down again, and then reapply one coat of adhesion promoter. So after adhesion promoter, it's time for some epoxy primer. And you want to use epoxy primer because this primer sticks to raw material like raw plastic or bare metal a lot better than, let's say, a 2K primer. It also provides protection against moisture, which will probably help prolong the life of a paint job you'll be doing on a plastic bumper. Now this primer mixes 2 to 1, which means 2 parts of primer to 1 part of hardener. So if you're using a mixing cup like this is the scale you'll be using. You put primer and bring it to whatever number you want on this first scale, and then you add hardener and bring it to the corresponding number on the second row or the second scale. Now that's the mixing ratio if you're going to be using this as an epoxy primer. You can use the same thing as a sealer if you add some reducer to this, but we'll get to that a little bit further down in this video. But yeah, this is good stuff. Again, if you're interested, links in the description box down below. So after you mix your primer, next it's time to spray it. So for your first coat, you want to put down a nice wet coat, and then wait 5 minutes. And then for your second coat, however, you want to put down just a medium coat. And if you want to spray a third coat, you want to wait 15 minutes. And then again, apply just another medium coat. So after you apply your epoxy primer, you want to wait 5 to 10 hours depending on what's the temperature where you're applying your primer. And then after that, you can sand it with 400 grit sandpaper. And after that, you're ready to apply your base coat. But if you want to further prolong the life of your paint job and ensure your bumper cover against road chips and whatnot, what you want to do is to actually apply a sealer. And you can easily turn this epoxy primer into a sealer by simply adding reducer to it. And the mixing ratio for turning this into a sealer is 2 parts of primer to 1 part of hardener to 1 part of reducer. So again, if you're using a mixing cup, you would use this scale. So it would be 2 parts of primer would go here, 1 part of hardener would go here, and then 1 more part for the reducer would go here. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing to the face of this bumper cover. So yeah, you guys are about to see some action. And that's because even though the face of this bumper cover is already primered, I'm not very confident in the quality of the primer they got on this thing. Plus this primer is black, and this light gold is the color of our base coat. And that's another benefit of using a sealer. It basically seals everything and you don't get any bleed through, whether from drying primer, Bondo, whatever. Now granted, my sealer is going to be gray, but it's still going to be trying to cover this black with our base coat. Alright, so if we haven't already done so, next step would be to wash the front of this cover thoroughly. And no, I haven't done so, so I'm going to wash it now. Next, we're going to dry it off, and after that, since we don't know how long this primer has been sitting on this bumper cover, we're going to have to scuff it up using our gray Scotch-Brite pad. And once again, you want to pay special attention to the corners and the edges and scuff up all the areas. And once again, after we scuff it down with our Scotch-Brite pad, we're going to wash it off with some plain water. And then we'll dry it off with some microfiber towels and some compressed air. But it goes without saying, not only you want to make sure the bumper cover is dry, but the whole area where you're going to be spraying your base coat and clear coat is completely dry as well. Alright, so I'm going to have to move over this little cover from the old bumper cover into this one right here. So since the base coat is still intact on this one, I just went and scratched it up with some 400 grit sandpaper. I'm going to install it and spray sealer with the rest of the bumper cover, and then that should be fine. And next, I'm going to go ahead and clean my $20 spray gun with some good old lacquer thinner and my spray gun cleaning brush. And by the way, this is an awesome spray gun. I'm going to spray everything with this spray gun in this video, and everything should come out fine. And it's very important you know how to clean one of these properly. I'll put a link to a video on how you can clean a high volume low pressure spray gun at the end of this video. Alright, next it's time to mix our sealer. First the primer, then the hardener, and then finally the reducer. And next we thoroughly mix our magic potion. And then using a strainer, we're going to pour it into our spray gun. Next we'll tack down our panel one last time. Alright, so next we're ready to start spraying, and when you're spraying this as a sealer, you're only supposed to do one wet coat with 50% overlap. But I'll start by spraying all the corners, edges, and these areas first. Then I'll do a pass on the entire panel. Now we're going to spray the whole shebang again. Alright, so here's a look at our panel after we sprayed it with a wet coat of sealer. And as you can see, this sealer went on there really nice, flat, and smooth, as one would expect from a good sealer, I should say. Alright, so now you can spray your base coat right on top of this. And this sealer is designed that you can spray your base coat wet on wet. That basically means just wait for this to flash, which should be about 15 to 30 minutes. Then you can just spray your base coat on it, and then that way you have a chemical bond between the base coat and your sealer. But to be on the safe side, and in order to also get that chemical bond between the two coats, we're going to wait about an hour before we spray our base coat on. Alright, next it's time to mix our base coat. And this base coat mixes 1-to-1 with reducer. So 1 part of base coat to 1 part of reducer. And one more time, we'll stir this thoroughly. And then once again, using a strainer, we'll pour it into our gun. Alright, since we're going to be applying this wet on wet, we don't need to tack it down. But if you waited more than a couple hours and it's dry to the touch, go ahead and quickly tack it down with your tack cloth. Next, we're ready to start applying our base coat, and we're going to do 3 medium coats or until we cover the entire sealer, obviously. And we're going to wait about 15 minutes between each coat. And once again, I'm going to do the edges and the corners first, then the entire panel. Alright, here's a look at our bumper cover after its first coat. So next we're just going to wait 15 minutes and then tack it down gently with our tack cloth and then apply our second coat. And here's a look at our bumper cover after its second coat, and it's starting to look more and more like the color we want it to be. Alright, so after a 4th wet coat, I think we're finally done with our base coat. And next we're going to have to wait at least an hour before we can apply our clear coat, but we don't want to wait more than 24 hours. Alright, so it's been a couple hours and now it's time to mix and spray our clear coat. This clear coat mixes 4 parts of clear to 1 part of activator. So first the clear coat and then the activator. Once again we mix them thoroughly. And one more time, using a strainer, we'll pour it into our gun. But before we start spraying our clear coat, we're going to tack it down one last time. After this, we're not going to tack down our clear, obviously. And next we're going to start spraying our clear coat, and we're going to do the same way. We're going to do 50% overlap, and we're going to do 3 coats, medium wet, and we're going to wait about 15 minutes between each coat. Here's the kit after our first run, coming out pretty good. I'm going a little lighter on the clear actually, because last time I sprayed on camera I had a run, and I don't want to repeat that because then it would look real bad. By the way, there's the car that bumper's for. 2010 Subaru Legacy. It needs a bumper and a few other things, but overall, pretty good condition. It looks like it was involved in a front-end collision, but it has no frame, subframe, or structural damage. It's just missing a side of its bumper cover. Luckily the grill is still intact, so just gonna swap it over and we should be good to go. And this is coming out really nice. Hopefully you guys can see it better at this angle. Let's try this angle. Can you guys see the reflection? Not a whole lot of orange peel. This is pretty good clear for how cheap it was. And if you're wondering, I'm shooting it with 30 psi with the trigger pulled. So I just got done putting the 4th and last coat of clear on this, and I'll give you guys a shot at this angle. It came out pretty good, nice and shiny, not a whole lot of orange peel. And that's it, we're pretty much done spraying. All we have to do next is to wait 24 to 48 hours for this to dry, and then we're gonna wet sand and buff the areas that we have some orange peel, and then we should be all set. And again, if you saw any products used in this video that piqued your interest, I'll put links to them in the description box down below that you can click on. And also, you probably want to check out these other related videos, of which I'll put links on this side of the screen, and again in the description box down below as well. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.